Have you ever stopped to consider how your life might be if you stopped caring so much about the opinions of others? How would you behave if you had the confidence to always make decisions based on what you truly believe is right, without the fear of judgment? Where would you be today if you had followed only your instincts, disregarding the thoughts of those around you? These are powerful questions, and in today's video, we'll explore how you can start living more authentically without being shaped by the expectations of others. Let's do a quick exercise. Think of a recent situation where you wanted to say something, take action, or ask a question, but hesitated because you were afraid of what others might think. Now, imagine a version of yourself in a parallel universe who had the courage to act exactly as they desired. Go further. Envision this version of you who has always had the courage throughout their entire life. How different are they from who you are today? How many opportunities have you missed to become your best self out of fear of judgment? By the end of this video, you'll discover what you need to do to start living as your best self from this moment forward. But first, it's essential that you understand why it's so urgent to stop caring about the opinions of others. If you don't realize how serious this is, your life may follow a path you don't want. There's no point in trying to skip to the end or look for quick answers, because they won't have the same impact. Now, imagine you go to a party, and in an attempt to impress others, you make an effort to be liked. At first, it seems like everything is going well, but soon the jokes start being made at your expense. You laugh with them, make jokes about yourself, all to maintain the sense that you're being liked. However, when you return home, you feel uncomfortable and start replaying the situation in your mind, filled with regret for not standing up for yourself. You think about how you wish you had acted differently, but now it's too late, and that sense of frustration only grows. This example may seem extreme, but the essence is that often we change our behavior to try and create an impression we think is right. Maybe you've experienced situations like this at school, at work, or anywhere else. And what's the problem with that? The problem is that by doing so, you sacrifice your authenticity. In the pursuit of acceptance, you stop being who you truly are and become a fabricated version, designed to please. In the end, you're no longer living as yourself, but as a persona, an image of what you think others want to see. This comes at a high cost. You lose your sense of individuality, your opinions, your values, and you end up becoming a puppet. Even worse, if one day this group or person supports something that goes against what you believe, you won't have the strength to oppose them. Without self-respect, you become someone who simply accepts. This is why many teenagers end up getting involved with drugs. The desire to belong, to be accepted, and to have friends is so strong that they often sacrifice their own beliefs to fit in. This can lead them to places, both physical and mental, that have nothing to do with who they really are. And this behavior goes beyond that. Unconsciously, all of your decisions start to be shaped by this need for approval. Every new idea or thought you have passes through an invisible filter, deciding whether you should act based on what others will think. The way you walk, dress, speak, everything becomes conditioned by this filter. And now, ask yourself, is this really you? Or are you just watching your life pass by without taking the reins? An interesting analogy for this, especially if you're into video games, is the idea of being an NPC. An NPC, or non-playable character, is the character in the game that has no control over itself. It only reacts to the environment depending on the interaction with other characters. Now think, what's the difference between you and an NPC? Do you act out of your own will, or simply respond to the expectations of the environment around you? Are you the protagonist of your own story, or merely a supporting character in someone else's? Now that you've understood the problem, a new question arises. Why do we do this? There are several reasons, and it's important that you reflect on which ones apply to your life. Maybe you relate to one of these causes, maybe to all of them, and that's okay. The important thing is to pay attention and understand. One of the reasons might be the fear of hurting others. You might avoid expressing your opinions or disagreeing because you believe it will make people dislike you. In doing so, you become passive, always in the shadows, avoiding discomfort. The result? You become directionless, accepting whatever comes your way. How many times have you avoided doing something because you thought you would be getting in someone's way? Another possible cause is the fear of conflict. You avoid debates and disagreements to maintain peace, But the price is the loss of respect from others. If you don't have the courage to stand up for your own ideas, how can you expect people to respect you? Furthermore, there is the fear of looking foolish. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, there's a risk of feeling exposed. But if you're not willing to look foolish from time to time, you'll never try something new, and without trying, you'll never learn anything. If you're unwilling to learn, you'll remain stuck in the same pathetic place you are now, without progress. And here's the truth. We are all pathetic in some way, and everyone has been pathetic at some point. That's why children learn so quickly. They're not ashamed of making mistakes. Give a child a guitar, and they'll make a bunch of noise, experimenting, without caring what others think. They just do it. This is why children make more mistakes but also learn faster. Adults, on the other hand, feel embarrassed. They care too much about what others think. Give an adult a guitar, and they'll only try to play it if no one is watching. And if someone is nearby, they'll play timidly, afraid of looking ridiculous. And when discomfort hits, they'll simply give up. Pay attention to what I'm saying. This attitude will only lead you to bad places. And the worst part is that you'll know it was you who put yourself there, having done nothing to change it. If you're not willing to make mistakes, you'll never learn anything new. Another common reason is the desire to please everyone. You may think that if you act a certain way, you'll be able to be friends with everyone, someone who never has problems with anyone. But believe me, this is impossible. You can't please everyone, and if you try, the only enemy you'll create is yourself. People are different, with complex stories and values. When you try to please everyone, you end up creating false versions of yourself, one for each group, and in the end, you no longer know who your real friends are or who belongs to the superficial world you've built. No matter what you believe in, what your political stance is, how you dress or express yourself, there will always be someone who doesn't like you for who you are. And that's okay. An even deeper reason is the desire to have control over everything. This may even have roots in childhood, when we start to feel the need for control. You begin to shape your behavior, believing that by acting in a certain way, you can predict and control people's reactions. It's like you're solving a mental equation to achieve the ideal outcome. This becomes a major problem because it's impossible to predict and control the behavior of others. They are unpredictable, and no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to fully control them. You might occasionally get the result you want, but in the end, there will always be a variable you didn't consider, something outside your control that alters the outcome. And the worst part is that you'll have wasted time and mental energy for nothing. If we can't even fully control our own impulses and desires, how can we imagine we'll control others? Finally, we come to an even deeper reason: the ego. The ego shapes your behavior, making you want to be perfect in everything: relationships, appearances, every attempt you make. This stems from the feeling that you deserve attention, that you deserve to be the center of it all. You seek to please everyone and try to be flawless in everything you do, expecting those around you to recognize it and applaud you. Many people think their ego isn't that big, but they strive too hard to show how successful they are. Today, this is amplified on social media, where everyone seems to lead a perfect life, showcasing the expensive restaurant they dined at, the car they drive, or how they're in great shape. Don't get me wrong, the ego itself isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's essential. The ego is what gives you commitment to yourself. It connects your consciousness to the real world, and it drives you to pursue what makes you happy. The problem begins when the ego takes control. When the ego inflates, you see yourself as the center of the universe, thinking you're the most important person, and that no one has the right to contradict you. Someone with this kind of behavior ends up walking over others to get what they want. And it's easy to see this, especially in older people. Previous generations, in general, tend to believe that because they are older, they know more than the young. This belief causes them to stop learning, and over time, they become more ignorant because they don't tolerate being contradicted. What do you know? I'm older, therefore I know more. But the problem is that over the years, in addition to gaining knowledge, we also accumulate ignorance in various areas. Be careful not to become that stubborn person who can't accept being wrong and can't tolerate being contradicted. It's hard to say which of these characteristics is the most common or the most harmful. Maybe you relate to just one, or perhaps to all, or a little bit of each. But that doesn't matter. What matters is recognizing that there is always something within us that can be improved. If you leave this video with only one idea, let it be this. Whenever you do something and worry about what others are thinking, you're sabotaging yourself. You're being a lesser version of who you could be. Somewhere out there, there's a version of you who is on the right path, moving forward, being the best version of themselves. After all we've discussed, the question remains, what can I do? The answer, as simple as it may seem, is straightforward. Observe the behaviors we mentioned that resonate with you, and stop doing them. It's as simple as that. But how? That's the right question. The first and most important tip, and if you've made it this far, you're already on the right track, is understanding. There's no point in having 1,000 ways to change if you don't truly know why you want this change. Humans work this way. If you give someone the tools and say, build a boat, their first question will be, why? You can force them, but the result will be poor. Now, if you explain the reason, make them understand the importance of building that boat, they'll find the strength to do it, no matter the cost. So, the biggest tip is this: genuinely understand the why. When you grasp the reason, everything else falls into place because you will find your way, regardless of the obstacles. Now, let's get to the practical tips. First tip: mind your own life. Stop being so concerned with others' lives. Don't be curious about who broke up with whom, who bought a new car, or where people are going. When you're too interested in others' lives, it reflects an unconscious desire to be better than them. And then you might ask, but isn't that a good thing? Not when the focus is on being better than someone else, rather than being a better person. When your focus is on appearing superior, you shape your actions and behaviors to stand out from others. And that brings us to the next tip. Second tip: compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Humans have a natural tendency to compete. Who has the best car, the biggest salary, the best family? At some point, you might even win, but inevitably you'll find someone ahead of you, and the cycle begins again. This game never ends. No matter how much you stand out, there will always be someone who seems better in some aspect. But here's the point: there's nothing noble in being better than someone else. Each of us comes from a different life story, with unique challenges and opportunities. You don't know the advantages or disadvantages someone else had along the way. Want a fair game? Then compare yourself only to who you were yesterday, and strive to be a better version of yourself every day. That's the only competition that truly matters. Third tip: have a clear goal. When you don't know where you're going, any path seems to suffice. But it's usually not the best. If you don't have clarity about what you want, you won't know what to expect, and you'll end up lost. So, define your goal precisely. If you're going to the gym, know exactly why. Visualize your goal and keep it firmly in your mind. If you don't do this, your mind will start wandering, looking for other distractions or people to emulate. For example, if your goal is to win a marathon, you won't worry about what others think of you while you're training. You'll be so focused on your purpose that nothing around you will be able to take you off course. Fourth tip: know that it will be difficult. To wrap up, it's crucial that you understand something. Even after recognizing all of this, even knowing how important it is to change, you will still fail. Many times, even knowing what needs to be done, you won't have the courage to act. This happens because these behaviors have been ingrained in you for so long that they've become unconscious habits. If breaking a habit were easy, it wouldn't be a habit. Our brains are programmed to conserve energy by putting repeated actions on autopilot. You don't even need to think to do them. And this is the real battle: being aware of this tendency and not giving up just because you failed a few times. Breaking a habit takes time and effort, but I guarantee you it's worth it. So that's it. If you start applying these tips in your life, little by little, with care and attention, I'm sure you'll become a better person. Truly. That's the end of today's content, and I sincerely hope you've enjoyed it. But before you go, give me just a few more seconds of your time. If you've made it this far and feel that this video has helped you in some way, don't forget to leave a like. It's quick, doesn't cost anything, just scroll down and click the button. And if you want to see more content like this in your feed, subscribe to the channel. Deal? Thank you so much for your attention, and see you next time.